rise in the jungle we unite in tripping orange and black and white. Whole day when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Now who got 'em, who rockin' on? Now who wanna move crossing on? Now who wanna move out on? If you got stripes and you let the city know you rock 'em, yeah we got 'em, yeah we fought 'em. Like that black and orange up on 'em, single bottle, never stop it. To the beast and know 'em. Who they rockin' with the diamond stripes, flossin' on the ring. Cincinnati, she's our queen, we gon' show the world who king. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who day we ignite and
Welcome to Bengals and Brews. I'm Dale Altman, joined by Pork Chop, joined by BSG. I'm full of energy on this Friday, as you can tell.
You are the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah, I wish I was drinking, but I'm like, it might take a couple weeks off from drinking on Fridays, so
why?
I'm drinking for a couple.
Why?
Why not?
I'm drinking.
See, I really wanted to go get some rum because I hadn't had rum in a while, but I was like, no, I didn't. I didn't do it. So here we are. We've got a Sprite Zero that's half drank and some water. It's Friday, though.
You got some at the house?
Mm-mm.
Well, all right. Well, good luck with how many weeks are you going to go dry?
Oh, no. I mean, at least this one.
This week?
Yep.
All right. Well, congratulations, man. Proud of you.
Well, I wasn't really trying to do anything. I was just like, do I want to go get rum or not? Nah,
you just forgot to stop and don't want to go
back.
No,
I just didn't want to. I don't
want to go out either, man.
But you know what you're always going to want to do? Head over to Midwest Best Barbecue and Chop Shop, proud sponsors of this show. That's what you're always are going to want to do. Those two right there.
As a matter of fact, you should go do it right now.
You should.
You can still listen to the show on your way to Midwest Best Barbecue, and you can. You might be on your computer anyway. You can access the Chop Shop right there.
Also, happy birthday to our bro
Robert.
Here.
Oh.
Chris Chop and Robert. Robert, yep. Happy birthday to you too.
It's the last day of February. It's the last day of February, so it's got to count as your February.
It's my not birthday today.
Well, happy birthday.
So today I'm 52, and tomorrow I'll be 53, but it's not my birthday tomorrow either.
Who knows?
That's a riddle.
I'm just looking at some combine times because we got day 2 of on-field stuff going on.
I know,
corners out there running right now. They're in
What'd
Porter,
you think
man.
About yesterday? What about your guy, man, Shamar Stewart?
Yeah, 10 reps. It's expected. He's an elite athletic freak. Now, if he just had the production, but I think someone could take him in the top 15. It's not going to surprise me. I mean, I don't have a personal vendetta against this kid.
I know, but he's not your guy at 17, right? Let's say
he's not my personal guy, no.
He falls to 17. Who else is there? Pierce?
Yeah.
Stewart?
I'd rather have Pierce, but I think the Bengals would take Stewart. I'm just saying, like, if it's – and even let's throw Mike Green in there with the
Don't you think that Stewart has the capability to be, like, fucking all-pro?
For sure. I mean, a lot of guys do, but potential and capability a lot of times can get you fired, too, in a few years.
What's your biggest knock on Stewart?
Production. He doesn't finish getting sacks. I mean, 1.5 sacks, 4.5 for his career, 1.5 most for any one season. It's like, well, he stops the run more. Yeah, I get all that, but there's plenty of times on tape that he's rushing the quarterback and he either A, doesn't get there because he doesn't have a great pass rush arsenal, or he just misses when he gets the pressure. So I just wish he was more productive. If he was more productive, I don't think everybody would be saying, oh, shit, because they were tossing out the Myles Garrett stuff on there yesterday. But then you see the production. Well, because the size, the athleticism, all that is very similar to Myles Garrett. But then you look at the production. One of them had like 40 sacks. One of them had 4.5 in college.
Okay.
That's a big fucking difference.
I'll tell you who I did hear that they're comparing him to is Chop Robinson. And I remember last year we were high on Chop
fast.
Robinson.
That's where James Pierce maybe, like, because he's smaller and fast.
I'm just telling you, like, when I'm watching, like, I don't know who it was on the NFL Network, I've heard a couple different people compare him to Chop Robinson because of his production. And that's what they're saying, is because they're like, a lot of the knock on Stewart is because of his production, like you said, because he's only got the 4 sacks. But they said Chop Robinson only had 4 sacks in his last year in college, and his rookie season turned out pretty damn good.
I'd be remiss not to mention a couple guys that are running now, and then I got a whole list with information and weights and sizes and RAS scores for the guys from yesterday. But the ones that are going now, one is Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky, but he needed to run that 4.3 because he weighs in a little under 180. He might play at 170. So he's a little on the smaller side. So you want to see him run fast, but I like him. I think he's a good early second round type of player potentially. But the one that's really intriguing is out of Iowa State. So he's a 6-year guy. He didn't used to be a corner, and he couldn't get on the field because of tackling, but that's improved. But he's 6'3", 195. So 6'3" with over 33-inch arms. All that's great for a corner. And then you're like, well, what's the speed like? The motherfucker just ran a 4.3 flat.
You're right.
A 6'3", 200 pounds. That guy has made himself some money already at this combine just with the measurements. And he had a great season. He was elite in coverage, like a 90 PFF grade in coverage. Now, his tackling is still not the greatest, but he worked on it to get on the field and play for them. So at Iowa State. But, yeah, definitely impressive. I already had him as a second-round guy. I'm not going to move him up to the first. But if somebody falls in love with this kid and takes him late first, very early second, it's not going to surprise me. So shout out Darian Porter because that's just impressive to see. Like when I'm scrolling Twitter here to see what's coming in.
Where do you got him in your? Did you say where you got him?
Second, I got him solidly second round is where I've had him because he had a great season, good ball skills. Just hadn't played a lot of football. He's a little older, but at that size, with that length, with an elite coverage grade this year throughout the whole season with a 90. That's an incredible season. And then to have that size and length and go run a 4.3 flat. It's like fast. Somebody's going to be like, all right, let me get my hands on this kid because I can make him a Pro Bowler, all pro, whatever, type of player. The potential's there. Tariq Woolen from a couple years ago, he's going to get compared to him a lot.
So what positions are going today? Linebacker, right? Or is that Saturday?
Linebackers went yesterday with the D-line and
they did?
All the D-line, yeah.
Hell.
And not too many. A lot of guys didn't test in that whole group, so it's been disappointing. As far
nobody's
as
testing anymore at the combine. It's just going to go away. From now on, they just call that thing the 40-yard dash because that's all they do when they come. Run the 40 and go.
But today's the corners, safeties, and I think the tight ends are also going to be today. So, and then tomorrow should be like the I think quarterbacks and running backs and receivers, and then I think the last day is offensive linemen. I think that's how the schedule goes.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, I would pay attention to those tight ends.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to take a tight end, and I also feel like it's in play at 17. I feel like it's in big-time play at 17, to be honest.
It wouldn't shock me, and I don't have the exact measurements right offhand, but I think Colston Loveland was over 6'5", so I always round up if it's 6'5.5" to 6'6". So he was a guy that I round up. So he came in today, the kid from Michigan, 6'6", 248. So that's excellent size because he's already a great athlete, run after catch type of player from Michigan. And then, you had Tyler Warren. Those two guys are definitely in the mix if they're there at 17. And the Bengals, I believe, met with both of them. I got my list.
Yeah, they
here.
did meet with both.
Yeah, they met with both of them, Mason Taylor and Gunnar Helm, that are reported. Now, there's going to be some that we don't hear about and they met with anyways. And they got 45 formal interviews at the combine. So we don't, and not everybody says whether they were formal or informal. I know a couple guys like Colin Oliver and there was somebody else that was an informal one. I know 2 players said they were informal. So those didn't count toward the 45. But so I don't know how many of those, but I'm assuming a lot of these are official, especially, those are all 4 guys that could be tight end ones in the NFL.
Right.
No Elijah Arroyo reported, but I would imagine they probably met with him too if they're meeting with all these top guys.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yes. Some other guys they met with, Pierce Green, Shamar Stewart, Nick Scorton, Mikael Williams, Walter Nolan. So that's some of the D-line guys that we've talked about that we know they met with too. So
weird that the rumor mill. You know what I'm saying? Like that I had heard that Pierce and Green were never even on their board. So, I mean, if you only get X amount of interviews, why would you interview someone that, I guess, it's all about smoke and mirrors too, though, to be honest.
Yeah, because you want, and I mean, you want to meet with a lot of these top guys regardless, because you don't know who's going to fall, who might fall. Like they met with Malachi Starks, they met with Will Johnson, they met with Ashton Genty, I saw today. So they've met with, they're going to meet with a lot of top guys because you want to meet with them. You want to get to know these guys that might be on the board when you're picking, especially with a first round draft pick. And these guys are all in that range of a first round caliber player. So
yeah,
makes sense.
It sounds like Duke Tobin makes the pick. From what I was listening to Al Golden talk about the process,
it's a collaboration, but
it sounds like might be a collaboration, but Duke Tobin makes the pick.
Well, they'll go back to what you were saying. Everybody's like, oh, they're going to draft Genty. They're going to draft this guy. I mean, you have to meet with everybody. Just because you say hi to someone doesn't mean you're going to marry them. I mean, that's like me going to Pork Chop. Hey, buddy, we're not getting married, Chop.
Why?
I don't know.
I mean, it's legal.
That might not be the best example.
Fuck it. I mean, we have to move to Utah because I'm already married, but I mean, I'm okay with it.
Well, if we look at some of the top guys, like we said, a lot of guys from that D-line group and linebackers, they didn't test. Now there's some that did, but like Mason Graham, I'll just mention for the simple fact that he's 6'3.5", so that was about as expected. You round it up to 6'4", but he's 296. He was listed at 318. So people are like, oh, Walter Nolan's only 296. Well, so is fucking Mason Graham. So who gives a shit? 296 is plenty big enough for these D tackles that can shoot the gaps and penetrate into the backfield. And both those guys are strong as an ox, so the 296 really don't mean shit.
What the fuck is the deal with Walter Nolan, though? Suddenly, like the report was that several teams have taken him off the board. And then, like, is it like, when they did they find an injury on him like they did Abdul Carter or something in the screening?
I've heard nothing about an injury. It's just the vague character stuff. No one's willing to say on it. No one's willing to go out and say exactly on James Pierce. Now, Mike Green, we know the stuff because he even said there was investigation in high school for sexual assault that no charges were filed. He was cleared of, is what he said. But he signed an agreement with Virginia. If there was any more things like that, he would be dismissed from the team, suspended, whatever it was. And there was another reported incident of sexual assault, so he was dismissed from Virginia. So that we know with Mike Green. We have no clue with James Pierce. We have no clue with Walter Nolan from any verified stuff that anybody's willing to say. Just the vague character concerns. So you take them with a grain of salt, and you hope that your teams do their due diligence. And then if you see stuff come out between now and then obviously – even us as fans are going to look at players a little differently if we know, okay, well, this guy, he punched a woman. Okay, he's off my fucking board. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. But when it's so vague, it could be so many. Is it a work ethic? Is it an anger? Is it he doesn't take to coaching well? Character could mean so many things. He doesn't love going to class all the time. And it's all important. But what exactly it is, we don't know. So
it's got to be something. If it's true that several NFL teams have removed him from their board, he's either like on all teams, he's your top 3 tackles, right?
Well, we don't know how true that is either, and how many are saying, well, several teams have said that he's not on their board. Well, are you just assuming that? Did some teams say, I think teams don't have him on their board? Are the Eagles and Chiefs saying this because they love to land a Walter Nolan, a James Pierce at the very, very end of the first round? It happens.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm pretty excited about Walter Nolan. Don't ruin my dream.
Yeah, James Pierce is another one, and he did test. So his RAS score, relative athletic score, math bomb, Kentley, Platt, does all that stuff. Been around since 1987, so it compares players from all the way back there to now and how they test compared to other players at their positions. James Pierce, 9.35 relative athletic score, and a big reason for that is he ran a 4.47. Elite. His 10-yard split. Elite.
Dude, he won the combine yesterday. When you turn on the TV and listen to him talk, they're all talking about the standouts, and their number one standouts, James Pierce.
Well, Shamar Stewart, I think, is the number one.
Well, you're right. They do talk a lot about Shamar Stewart, too.
Hey, did all of their teammates come to their birthday parties?
I don't know, Greg. See, that's stuff you got to find out. That should be your one job.
You're on the birthday party.
Get on the hook and find out about the birthday parties. But Pierce, and the reason I say maybe he didn't win is because, it's great, and people expected him to run fast and to be a little explosive off the line because you see it on tape. But he's 6'5", and you're worried about the weight because you can tell he's got a thin frame. Well, he's 245, and we know how the Bengals – 245 is not going to turn – but I will say 6'5" is tall. Yeah. 245 is thin for an edge player on the defensive line. I still think he gets after it in the run game. He's not awful, but he's not going to be elite at it like a Shamar Stewart out there setting the edge if that's what, he's
I'm starting to like Shamar Stewart, Dale.
Yeah.
The Bengals probably do because they'd rather stop the run and worry about the pass rush later, but then they get a guy that could probably have helped them in that aspect, Myles Murphy, and his pass rush plan isn't as developed enough, so they didn't play him.
Right.
So you want to draft another Myles Murphy? Because Myles Murphy was a 9+ relative athletic score athlete himself.
Our new coaches are going to develop all of them, though, Dale, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, all of them at once. That's what
all
I'm saying.
Of them.
This is just the year. It sucks because this is the year with a new staff. I just wish I had a year to see how they developed Myles Murphy to say, okay, I want another Myles Murphy. Trey Henderson ain't going to be here forever because they developed Myles Murphy into a stud this season. But we don't have that yet. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, for me, and I like Cedric Johnson, and maybe they bring back Osai. We'll see on that. Maлагetta being the agent, we know concerns us. But a lot of other guys didn't test. Michael Williams, Walter Nolan, Mike Green, Nick Scorton. But Scorton did weigh in at 257 after being listed in season at Texas A&M at 280. I think 257 is much better for his playing weight. And I think he was closer to that at Purdue, and he looked more and had 10 sacks. Texas A&M does weird shit. That's where he transferred this year. They do weird shit with their D linemen, and they're not always productive. Walter Nolan was there before he transferred to Ole Miss this year. He wasn't as good there. It's just for whatever reason. So I try. You gotta take all that into account when you're looking at these players. But I do like Scorton, and it won't surprise me if the Bengals are interested. So he's 6'2", 257. Good explosiveness. He didn't test, so we don't know exactly what kind of athlete he is, but was very productive at Purdue, not as much at A&M, but he still had like 5.5 sacks where Shamar Stewart had 1.5. So even in that same defense, he got home more often. So I still like him a little bit. Derek Carman's a guy a lot of people like. He didn't do full testing, so there's no relative athletic score, D tackle from Oregon. But he did run, and he ran a 4.95. So that's anytime you're sub 5 for a D tackle, that's
the guy's like 350 pounds, isn't he?
He's 313, so he's 6'4.5", so 6'5", 313. Big boy.
Dale, what would your gift be if we drafted Harmon? What would your gift be on Twitter if you had to post one?
I mean, I don't know, Greg. Solid. It's just a solid.
Hey, I was watching Good Morning Football, and Manti Te'o's on there, and he said that that's exactly what he ran in the 40 also for comparison.
Yeah, and here's some more Shamar Stewart stuff. So, I mean, because he's a polarizing prospect. Some people love this guy and say he's top 10 player all day. Top 5, you should take him in the top 5.
Yeah.
I hope someone does take him in the top 5.
Well, the way they're hyping him up, he probably won't make it to 17 anyway.
No.
But like Ryan says, Shamar Stewart, a 10 in shorts and a 2 in pads. That's, I mean, with production at least. And then Chris says Shamar Stewart is modern day Vernon Golston. See, I'm a Buckeye fan. So Vernon Golston was very good that last year at Ohio State. Goes to the Jets like pick 6. Never did shit in the NFL. Athletic freak, tested well. I'm just saying, there is guys. Everybody wants to point to so everybody says Trayvon Walker from Georgia. Wasn't super productive, went number 1 with the Jaguars. That surprised people, but now he's playing well. Great. They developed him. He's good. That's what you hope Shamar Stewart could be. But you also got to look at the other examples where guys tested well, but they didn't have production and they didn't pan out. There's a bunch more of those guys than there is of the other, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that the Brew Crew and you can help me get off of the stuff that the national media is hyping me up on some of these guys.
He may end up being great. I'm just saying that he needs a lot of development as a pass rusher, and I don't think that I want to be the team to do it. That's all. Someone else might get him, and he might be an all-pro. I can see the potential. That athleticism and size is rare.
And do
Dale,
this year.
No offense to Murphy or anything, but like you say, you get someone. And funny thing is, the Bengals always say we go by what we see on tape. Well, with Murphy, you really didn't see the tape. Sure, he showed the athleticness, but he never really showed it on tape because you always hear the Bengals say, "Oh, it always goes back to what we see on tape."
Yeah. Shamar Stewart or Kenneth Grant?
I mean, see, Grant didn't test either because it was tightness in his hamstring or something. He's supposed to test that as pro day. If he would have tested, I'm telling you, we'd be talking about him today like we're talking about Shamar Stewart, and I would easily tell you Kenneth Grant. And I'll say Kenneth Grant anyways because I liked his tape better.
Right.
Yeah.
He's been higher on my board. So I will say Kenneth Grant, but had he tested, I think a lot of people would say Kenneth Grant. He just wasn't able to test, and that sucks. Now, he did measure in, and he measured in 6'4", 331. So he's a big old sexy man. Man meat. We talk about man meat. Kenneth Grant is man meat. 33.5-inch arms, 82 and 5/8 wingspan. So big old boy, great size. Going to be an elite run defender and can develop as a pass rusher. There's a lot to work with there. The ceiling is Dexter Lawrence. That's a high fucking ceiling once again. But now Daniel Jeremiah has said the same thing I said a long time ago about that is the ultimate ceiling because a nose tackle and a guy with that size that can move. Your ultimate ceiling and hope for that guy is Dexter Lawrence, who's the best D tackle.
What's he going to call his dance if he gets a sack like the sexy Dexy? What are we going to do for Kenneth Grant?
We got to come up with something.
I ain't going to bitch if we get Grant.
Either. Man, there's a handful of players that I'm not going to bitch if we get.
I think we could just nickname him like Skinny Kenny because he's 340 pounds. So it's one of them ironic nicknames.
Right. Yeah. Tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tiny Grant.
Skinny Kenny.
Yeah. Skinny Kenny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Slim Pickens. Oh, that's our real guy.
We'll go down through some other top guys. So like Jack Sawyer didn't test, but a lot of people were disappointed because 6'4", 260. He did some on-field workouts and they didn't look super great, to be honest. But
who's this?
Jack Sawyer, 31 and 3/4-inch arms is what people were disappointed about. They act like, he's out there like this, like a dinosaur.
Like a T-Rex?
It's almost 32-inch arms, so it's not abysmal, but it's not ideal. You want, for a D lineman, you want 33 or more. I mean, because we can look at a guy that I love, and that's Donovan Ezerique from Boston College, who had 17 fucking sacks this season or something. It was 16, 17. It was somewhere in that range. 6'2.5", so you bump that up to 6'3", 248, right? So that's not going to be the 260 that the Bengals love, but 250 and 6'2.5", and he's got room to put on weight and put on good weight. But what you like when you're talking about arm length, where Jack Sawyer's 31 something, this guy is 6'2", but his arm length is 34 inches.
Jesus.
So he's got long ass arms, highly productive at Boston College. Boston College, I feel like, usually has some smart guys go through there, like Luke Kuechly, highly educated people that come through that college. 8.28 RAS score, so that's in the green. It's above average. It's not quite elite, but it's damn good. And his explosiveness stuff was incredible. I think it was explosiveness or I think explosiveness was incredible. That was like all green, top marks. I think he was best in both of those categories. It might have been the broad jump, and it wouldn't have been that. It would have been the cone and the shuttle, actually. So it would have been the agility because tops in the other was Dustin Cross' favorite guy.
Was it the guy from Arkansas?
Landon Jackson.
Yeah, that dude. I
was giving you a chance to get the name, Chop. I knew the name.
I'm not going to get. I got to college though.
You did.
So, that's an advancement, right?
That was impressive.
Like Arkansas.
I thought you were going to say the guy with alopecia.
The guy with alopecia, but you know what they were talking about? Jamie Erdahl was talking about the guy with alopecia because her kid's got alopecia. Like alopecia. There's already been a guy with alopecia in the NFL. That Josh Jacobs, the backup quarterback guy.
Who?
Josh. Is his name Josh?
Oh,
Jacobs?
Joshua Dobbs.
Dobbs, that's it.
Yeah. I was like, Josh Jacobs, damn running back.
No, Dobbs, he's got alopecia, so it's not like this guy's like breaking the mold. I mean, good for him. He doesn't have to manscape. I got to fucking spend hours manscaping. This guy.
It's not about breaking the mold. I mean, it's whatever. I just thought that would be how you would say.
I mean, here I am going off on a tangent about how I got to spend hours manscaping to make that fucker look beautiful, and this guy, natural.
But he jumped 40.5 on the vert for
he's
Landon
a badass.
Jackson. And Shamar Stewart was 40. And those two, so since 2003, since the combine has taken place, the official combine, that is in the top 4 of guys over 260. The other one was Myles Garrett, and I can't remember the other one, but it was Mario Williams, I think, guy that went first overall. So two like guys that were top 5 picks, and Landon Jackson and Shamar Stewart joined them as far as that, and that measures like your explosiveness a lot.
Let me ask you this, Dale: what is the biggest knock on Landon Johnson?
Landon Jackson.
I'm getting closer.
You were closer.
Arkansas, Landon Jackson. All right.
I mean, great size.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Exactly his measurements were here.
And he's a great athlete too, right?
He obviously is. I don't see that athleticism on tape with like the bend, but he's so big. So he's listed at 6'6", 264, and he's a big boy. You know what I mean? And I honestly think he played closer to 280 this year. So I think he's cut weight and he tested better. And I hope he plays at 264 and not closer to 280. He's a good run defender, but it's the pass rush. He's got a decent pass rush win rate on true pass sets, but it's a guy. He had 6.5 sacks last year, 6.5 this year. That's good, right? That's better than Shamar Stewart's 1.5, but it's never like dominant, you know. And he had 3 of those last year in one game against Alabama. You put on that Alabama game from last year, you go, okay, I love this guy, first round pick. But then there's almost every other game where you're like, he's okay. And I just don't see him winning a lot as a pass rusher. Like, for as athletic as he is, with his size, and he does have some bend for his size. He's not completely awful at it. But anytime you're that big, you're not going to have the same bend as these Ezeriques and Pierce and Mike Greens.
Right.
I mean, you just don't. But he's not bad at it, but he's not elite. And there's some reps. But just a lot of times he's just not – he's getting washed out. He's just getting stood up. His pad level's inconsistent. It's just the pass rushing consistency with him. It's just not there. I think – and it's not a knock when you say this, but he's another Sam Hubbard type. Okay. He might give you 6 or 7 sacks in a season and play really, really good run defense. Those guys are valuable. They're going to play in the league for 10 years. Yeah, they're going to be good players for 10 years. I'm not taking that player in the first round is all. Right. Like if he was there at 49, he would be in the conversation if we didn't take an edge in the first round. And I'd be okay with it. I get it. And especially him testing this well. Because honestly, I didn't think he was this of an athlete, this good of an athlete. So kudos to him. Those are the ones you like to see when they are a little more athletic than what you see on tape.
Landon Jackson, Arkansas.
Yeah.
Look at me go.
Yeah. Who else stood out to you, Pork Chop? We can just do it that way. Who stood out to Pork Chop?
Well, I mean,
who were Pork Chop and Greg's winners of day one of the
Greg, I've been running my goddamn yapper. Who was one of your standouts from the combine so far?
What? I have not got a chance to actually look at Chop, so I'll let you steal this one, bro.
Damn, Greg. Nice preparation, god damn it. You knew the only thing going on was day one of the combine, and you paid no attention to it. This guy doing no prep work. He's too busy jerking off and having sex with his Latina booties. But yeah, anybody in the chat, if you got a guy that we haven't talked about that you thought was a winner,
okay. You know what? Well, half the guys aren't testing. Like, I'm like, is anybody going to test the goddamn combine? I was about to test myself because I figured we'd have time for some random fans to go out in the field and test.
Who's the guy from Georgia, the linebacker? Is it Javon Walker? Or
no, I got one. Campbell.
Jalen Walker didn't test. Yeah, he's like 6'1", 243, to mention him. I think he's going to be an edge, but he's played off-ball linebacker at Georgia. I like him.
I'm just saying that could be an intriguing pick for us at 17 also is why this guy kind of interests me, because if we're looking for someone who's going to make a difference in our pass rush, this is a guy that can make a difference in our pass rush.
So he didn't test, and he did not meet with the Bengals. Now, sometimes I said there's some you don't hear about, but he was asked specifically and said he did not meet with the Bengals. So as of now, it doesn't seem like necessarily they see a marriage there.
Dale, fill me on this linebacker for what I thought was OSU. It was Oklahoma State. He's a bit of a tweener and all that and stuff. And he said he had a very good meeting with the Bengals. I think he's
Oklahoma State. You're talking about Colin Oliver. He's been more of an edge. He only played 2 games this year because I think he had a foot injury, but he was back at the Senior Bowl. So he's an undersized edge, which is why he worked out with the linebackers. I think he's going to have to be a linebacker in the NFL because he's only like 6'2", 240, 6'1", 240, somewhere in that range. Very undersized. He's not going to be, an edge. Now, can you rush him off the edge at times? Yeah, you can blitz him off the edge. You can do that. He didn't fully test yesterday, so we don't have any RAS scores on him. But and that was also an informal meeting, so they didn't use. But he said, "Oh, the Bengals really like me." But I mean, that's just they probably say that's everybody.
Yeah, right.
And add on to what Taylor's saying right here, Campbell was another one. I mean, I'm still.
This is another guy I wanted to ask you about.
I am not going to pitch about Campbell either. I'm really liking Campbell.
Well, let me ask you this about Campbell. So I understand Campbell's really good in coverage, right?
He was good in coverage. I wouldn't say like he's elite in coverage, but
what's his biggest
good.
thing? What's he great at?
I can't remember the grade off the top of my head, but I want to say it was around 80. Like it was very good.
No, I mean, what is he great at?
Oh, great at? I mean, pass rush, instincts, athleticism, obviously, because 9.85 relative athletic score. He was smaller than anticipated, so he was 235. He was listed at almost like 245, I believe. Yeah. But that's okay. 6'2", 235, 32.5-inch arms, was brought in as a pass rusher. I mean, it's just he's got the sideline-to-sideline speed, the range. He's got everything you want in a linebacker, and he can cover, and he can get after it as a pass rusher because he was brought in as an edge originally in Alabama. Alabama doesn't recruit slackers, especially when at the edge position, especially when Nick Saban was there, which he was when he recruited this guy. So, and then they moved him to linebacker because they had guys like Will Anderson.
Yeah, he ran fast too, right?
Yeah.
I don't have the 40 time on this list, but it was very good. It was at least 4.5. I know that. And the relative athletic score was, like I said, 9.85. So he was almost there in that perfect 10 relative athletic score. So he is a great player. We talked about him now the past 2 or 3 shows, it seems like, and for a reason, because we weren't talking about him that much. And the more I watched of him, the more I dived into him, the more I heard about how he was going to test before the combine. I was like, oh, we're going to be talking about this guy more anyway. So I got ahead of it and started talking about him a week or 2 ago.
Hey, Dale, one tight end the Bengals met with, I did a bunch of mock simulators. Tell me about the Texas tight end. I read about him in your draft guide a little bit. You're not.
He's okay. 1-year starter because he's playing behind Jatavion Sanders, who I liked last year, but didn't go till the 3rd round with the Panthers. He was listed in the 250s, and he weighed in today at 241. So I hope he tests really well since he weighed in much lighter because, I mean, he's tall. He's big. I think he's like 6'5", but 6'5", 240. It's a little thin frame, but he's a pass catcher. He wasn't awful at blocking, at least per PFF grades. You see something there, but he's not going to be an elite inline blocker. But he's solid. He's just one of those guys that I think if you got him here, he could easily develop into a starter. And I think he would be great here with Joe Burrow. I think all of those top, 5 or 6 guys would be really good here. So there's Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland. There is Mason Taylor, Elijah Arroyo, Harold Fannin Jr., and Gunnar Helm. That's my top 6 tight ends. And those 6 tight ends, I think every one of those will catch an absolute, this is a metric unit, by the way, fuck ton of passes from Joe Burrow and have a fuck ton of production with Joe Burrow as they grew with Joe Burrow. So and Gunnar Helm, maybe you get him in the 3rd round even. I don't know if he'll be there at 81, but he might be. And if you could get him at 81, maybe you get him at 81. At 49, maybe you got a shot at Mason Taylor from LSU, Pork Chop. He's expected to test
I'll tell you, he's my second. So last year I wanted Johnny Newton, right? But I was like, man, if we don't get Johnny Newton, I really like Chris Jenkins. And then we ended up getting Chris Jenkins. So this year I'm like, man, I really want Cortland Loveland. Colston Loveland. Son of a bitch.
One of these days, Chop. One of these days.
See Loveland. So anyway, I'm like, I like that guy. I think he would really fit into our this offense really great, especially if we don't re-sign Mike Gesicki. I think that guy is like, he could be the fucking pick at 17.
He goes very high up on the list without Gesicki, right? Because remember how interested they were in Dalton Kincaid?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So they were interested in Dalton Kincaid too, which is a lot like the Loveland. So, but what I'm saying is that so this year I'm saying that's my guy that I want. And if not, I hope we get Mason Campbell.
Hey,
if you had it right the first time.
No, what the fuck is wrong with me?
you guys brought up an interesting point here. Gesicki is our slot receiver. It kind of explains why we're talking a lot of receivers. Maybe they're preparing to lose Gesicki because I feel like Gesicki's not the tight end you're looking to replace. It's your slot receiver you're looking to replace if we lose Gesicki. And it kind of explains why we're talking receivers. By the way, interviewing all those receivers, I remember you said something, man. They don't believe in Yoshi. What the hell?
Well,
what the hell?
I mean,
it's okay.
Yeah, obviously I was joking when I said that.
No, I know.
But the point was that Matthew Golden and Emeka Egbuka, who they met with today, they announced today, they met with them obviously a day or two ago. But those guys are going to be more slot receivers in the NFL. So I said, this just confirms they hate Yoshi.
Yeah,
Two first-round guys they met with both play in the slot.
Right.
This isn't them going after a guy to replace T. It's them going after a guy to replace Andre Yosevash.
I mean, there's quite a few tight ends in this draft, though, right? Is that right, Dale?
It's a good class, but I think after you get outside of that top 6, it goes downhill fairly quick. I mean, there's still some guys I like, a Jake Brenningstool, a Rondé Gadsden. Those could also be some pass catcher, not going to give you much blocking guys, similar to Mike Gesicki in that mold. So there's Ferguson. Can't remember his first name. I wanted to say Jake, but that's a different tight end.
Craig Ferguson.
From Oregon, the tight end from Oregon. Terrence Ferguson, tight end from Oregon. That's his name. But he's another tight end that I like. So, yeah, I mean, there's guys. And usually only 14 tight ends are drafted. So, we've listed almost 10 of them right there.
Yep.
That could even be drafted. So, you'll have your shot at some of these guys that I've mentioned.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Just a matter of when.
Yep.
And that's not even Mitchell Evans. I didn't even mention him yet. I've mentioned him before from Notre Dame. So there's going to be the connection with Al Golden. And like I said, coming off that ACL, this will be his second year removed from it. So he was looking good toward the end of the season, not so much during the other parts of the season, but he's a guy that's like 260, 6'4", 6'5". So great size, can block, and can catch the ball. So there's a lot of good tight end options. It doesn't have to be first, second round. You can still get a guy in the third, fourth, fifth round and help your team if you need to take one. And you're probably going to need to take one if you bring back Gesicki or not, with all uncertainty.
Yeah. Hey, I want to go back to DTs. The Ohio State DT, I keep looking at him in the second round when I do a simulator, but the thing of it is he's just a run stuffer. Is there any way that you can convince me he would have some type of pass rush capability, or is he just strictly a run stuffer?
His freshman year, he had like 5.5 sacks. That's really good for a defensive tackle. He's never replicated that since that year. But he moves well for that size, so he can do something. You know what I'm saying? Okay. That's like DJ Reader. No one would classify him as a pass rusher, but he always seemed to push the pocket and give you something in that area.
Yeah. So if you try to get Kenneth Grant in the first round, you didn't get him. Would this be like the second guy behind Kenneth Grant, behind Grant in the second round, sort of? Is that what you?
I think Williams could go in the first, and he was 6'3". And he was 334. So I couldn't believe how – because he had been that big before, and then they reported he was down to like 320. But now he's back up to almost 335. He didn't test, but he did on-field drills and looked pretty smooth out there doing them. So that's what you do on a football field. It's closer to those drills than a lot of the other stuff. So I don't know if he'll be there in the second, especially at 49, Greg. Mm-hmm. I think if he falls to the second, he goes in the top 10 picks of the second. But if he was there and you didn't get a Grant, maybe, but I still want more of a pass rusher.
Yeah, me too. Like I say, I kind of kept.
But I'll take Kenneth Grant because I think he's such a rare freak.
Right. Like you said, the ceiling for Kenneth Grant. Oh my God, man, that's too good to pass up.
There's another big guy from Texas. That was almost 6'6", like 330 something as well. Alfred Collins. I think he's another second round pick type of player, run stuffer. Played behind some good players at Texas, obviously. Couldn't get on the field much prior to this year. He rotated in, but he's playing behind a guy called Tavondre Sweat at that nose tackle spot. You might have heard of him.
Well, no. Every time, Dale, I read about like Texas defenders, the knock on them was they just didn't get enough because they kept rotating, and that's not a bad thing. That means hey, they're still fresh coming in the league,
Yeah, he played a lot this year, and he played well. And like I said, you're going to get a really good run. Someone's going to take him in the second round too, and maybe the Bengals just want a big ass dude like that. Maybe it is Tyler Williams. Maybe it is him in the second. I'm not ruling a lot of things out.
Right.
One thing I am rolling out is an offensive tackle in the first round. Did you guys see that NFL.com top 5 needs?
Booker? Was it Booker?
No, they had top 5 needs for the Bengals, and it was wide receiver, tight end, O-tackle was the top 3.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I did see that.
D-line wasn't in the top 5 at all. No D-tackle, no edge. I said, what the hell is this list? And then there was people like, O-tackle is a need. We don't have an O-tackle 3. I'm like, these are your top 5 needs.
I was surprised they didn't have quarterback on there.
I'm like, they're not understanding what I'm saying. Like, your top 5 needs are guys you potentially take with your first round pick.
Yes.
You're not, in no world should we be taking an offensive tackle at pick 17 this year.
No.
So, therefore, that was a dumbass listed need on NFL.com. I don't care what anyone wants to argue with.
That was stupid.
Yep.
Guard was on there. I agree with that one. Tight end and wide receiver, their logic was sound. If you lose T, if you lose Gesicki, those are bigger needs. I understand those. Now, would I list them as top 2, knowing that the Bengals are going to franchise tag T, if nothing else? No, I wouldn't even list wide receiver in the top 5.
No, absolutely.
I'd list it at 6 or 7 maybe, though.
Right, exactly. Why would we even – absolutely not. That's just –
I think that they're listing – because they're all like still stuck on this thing that we're not going to extend T, and so that wide receiver is a huge reach. But even if we don't extend T and that play and it's just left vacant, I still don't think it's like one of our top 5 needs.
Well, speaking of T, a shout out to Savage in Boston. He's got to be all butthurt right now when they found out the Patriots are not going after T. Higgins. Oh,
man, y'all give that account way too much attention. Way too much. Everybody, Bengals fan base is really bad about that. Somebody says something about the Bengals, and that person gets so much interaction, they're going to continue to talk about the Bengals.
Yeah, you're right.
I just ignore these motherfuckers. No, it's not. I'm not coming at you, Greg. I'm just saying that happens so much, and sometimes there's some shit out there that you got to say something. I get it.
Well, no.
People just continue. Every little thing about T, people are tagging this account and giving them attention. It's like, come on.
Yeah, I get what
no one would have heard of these people if you didn't give them attention.
No. He probably, they thrive off on all that because that gets attention. You're right.
It's like rewarding a crying child,
What?
Well,
give them a toy because, you want to shut them up, but are you really? No, they're just going to cry again the next time and be more annoying.
Something else again. Let them to fuck up again.
Yeah.
That's what I do. Fuck.
He just stole my name. That dude stole my name. God damn him.
He did.
I
think see, you have a personal vendetta now against this account.
That's right.
I'm going full Savage, man.
If that guy ever makes it to Cincinnati, though, will you take him to Midwest Best?
Sure, I will.
Hell yeah.
We will.
And then he'll murder him after he gives him a
No, we will not.
Get his belly full of G-Funk wings.
We'll have a good Savage on Savage talk.
Yeah, in his basement. He'll take him to the dungeon.
You could bury him right next to your third grade teacher in your backyard.
So a buddy of mine, so I got to tell you guys a quick funny story. So my one coworker, he had his retirement party a couple days ago, and I brought up the sweat chair, and my head boss was like, "Okay, where's this going right here? We're not talking about this."
They didn't know about your sweat chair at work.
Well, my coworker Brad, it's a joke and all that. But
did you tell the guy retiring now that he's retired he could stay all night?
He could come over and sit in your sweat chair.
Yeah, no, he can come over as much as he wants now and all. He sat in the sweat chair before.
Man,
oh damn, he's been there.
Sat in the sweat chair.
Damn, that guy has no fear.
That guy and
that was before I called it my. That was before I called it my sweat chair. That was before I really just got so tired at times. And I said,
it wasn't the sweat chair then. It was just a regular.
It was the pre-sweat chair. It was
back then. It was the chair.
The chair.
The chair.
It was just a chair.
Yeah.
Another guy, and I love him. I've talked about him quite a bit. He is older. Darius Alexander.
Yeah.
If he's there at 49, I would take that pick. Even if we took a D tackle like Walter Nolan, I'd be like, Darius Alexander's really
Toledo.
good.
Toledo, yes. Right?
Yeah.
Boom! Look at fucking me go.
Good job, Port Chop. 34-inch arm length, too. So 34-inch arms is fantastic. You can move him up and down the line. He ran a 4.95 40. So at 300-plus pounds, running at sub-5 is fantastic. His RAS score, 9.22. So that's elite. That's an elite RAS score. He played phenomenal at the Senior Bowl. He had a fantastic season last year and this year for Toledo. And you can, well, Toledo, they play some smaller competition. Quinyon Mitchell did just fine with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Sauce Gardner played smaller competition too. Like you said, Quinyon Mitchell from the same school last year.
Yeah.
It's all good, man. Talent's talent.
And I think he comes in and he is an impact player on the defensive line from day one. So it won't surprise me if someone like, let's just say, I don't know, the Chiefs say Chris Jones isn't getting any younger and they lose that other D tackle in free agency that we discussed. I can't remember his name, but we discussed him on that episode. And they say, well, Darius Alexander's here at 31 or the Eagles at 32. We lost Milton Williams maybe in free agency. And one of those teams go, you know what? Darius Alexander's going to come in and play for us right away. And this guy's making plays next year in the playoffs right away for one of those teams with already good defensive linemen around him. Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me if he went that high.
Could he? Yeah, I was gonna say he may go in the first round because
that's what I was saying. Pick 31, pick 32 with one of those teams wouldn't surprise me. Now I have him as a second round guy, and I think if he's there at 49, I'd be all over it. But
dude, can you imagine the Eagles imagine the Eagles taking him?
Yeah, replace Milton Williams with him, and you got another guy just that can get after it.
Or if also you put him next to Chris Jones with the Chiefs. Oh my Lord.
Yep.
I got to tell you, man, my prediction is whoever the Eagles pick, we're going to all go like everybody in the NFL, the 31 other teams are going to go, because they're going to, whatever they're going to pick, they're going to do it right. And they're going to add somebody.
Yeah, of course. And they're good. And they're going to
add somebody good.
They invest in the lines. Now the Chiefs interior line has worked out draft picks. The tackle's been up and down for them on that they draft, right? They haven't hit on the tackles they draft necessarily. But the interior line guys, they have nailed those all throughout the draft. Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith. Then they brought the free agent in, the other guy. But yeah, Paul, I did see that about in Rappaport. And the writer was that Jordan Schultz.
Yep.
Who, breaks a lot of stuff. And now he's with one of the bigger networks too.
CBS, isn't it?
Head to head at a Starbucks.
I got the whole story on this one.
That's a heck of a place to be fighting at.
I got the whole story on this one.
Take it away.
Apparently what happened was that he broke some story about Matthew Stafford visiting Tom Brady at his house in Montana, and Tom Brady kind of like courting him to come to the Raiders. And then Ian Rappaport puts out a thing. It was like, horse shit. That didn't happen. They ran into each other at a goddamn convenience store and had pleasantries, and that's fucking it. And then Jordan Schultz is like, horse shit. If you fucking think that Matt Stafford and fucking Tom Brady ran into each other in a goddamn convenience store in fucking Montana, I got some fucking swampland to sell you. I'm paraphrasing. All right. I got some swampland
I think he said something like, better not fucking happen again if you got a problem with me saying to my fucking face.
Because it's the combine, they're all there. He walks into Starbucks and there's Ian Rappaport, and he walks up and he's like, hey, I want to have a word with you. And Ian's like, we're not having words. And he's like, fucking, I'm having a word right now then. And so he went off and a couple fuck words were said, and he apologized later, said, I didn't realize I was cussing, and Ian, little bitch ass, called for NFL security to come over. Yeah, so that's what it was. Now I am on side Jordan Schultz. Fucking Matt Stafford and Tom Brady aren't now. So there was also a report saying that they both own homes in this ski community. But still, what's the fucking chance that they're both there and then they run into each other, man? Two guys like that just don't run into each other by chance.
The Rams had given him permission to talk to other teams.
Exactly.
And Tom Brady is a part owner of the Raiders who are actively looking for a quarterback. Put 1 + 1 = 2.
So that's what that whole thing's about. And I wish that fucking Jordan Schultz would have punched fucking Ian Rappaport right in the goddamn fucking mouth.
And that's the thing. They could have been meeting, and I'm sure he took some meetings with a lot of teams. But guess what? Now today, they're coming back together, and everyone knew that. And Ian might have known, okay, he's ultimately going to end back up with the Rams. You could have said that without being a dick to the other guy who was just reporting what happened, basically. And it sounds like they've had some issues in the past. This stuff is what people have said, too. So this isn't the first time.
Well, I mean, you're going to call each other out on social media. I mean, Ian Rappaport's the one that called him out. Like, bullshit. Like, man, just make your own report. Don't I mean, he asked for it. If he would have got punched in the goddamn face or a hot coffee threw on him, he asked for it.
Yeah. But it's funny. I mean, ain't nothing.
It is.
And then all the media guys are.
Been funnier if they had
Making
actually
fun
fought,
of it.
though, right?
Yeah, it would have been.
And
a
we
lot
could be
cooler.
watching the video right now. Them two going
That'd
at
have
it
been
at
a lot cooler.
Starbucks. Oh my God, that would be hilarious.
I'll mention another guy that we don't talk about as much because I think maybe he's a fourth. Maybe he's a
says tickle fight.
Yeah, maybe he's a day 3 guy, so he's 4th round or so. But it's Tyler Barron from Miami. So he was at Tennessee before. Tennessee usually rotates their D-line a lot, but he played decent. But he's 6'5", 258, 33-inch arms. I mean, everything you want there. Ran a 4.62 at that size, so very impressive. His RAS was a 9.77.
Wow.
So and this is another edge rusher. So this is a guy that we haven't really talked about on here, but he's been like, a 4th round guy on my board. I've known who he is. And I remember his tape from Tennessee and his tape from Miami. He's never been like overly dominant any one season, but he's good. He's got good bend, good athleticism, which he showed, at the combine. So it's just a guy to keep on your radar. I think we'd take an edge earlier than day 3, but if we don't have one, and maybe there's a huge run on edge that pushes this guy up to the 3rd round. It wouldn't shock me to see this guy go around pick 81 where we pick. So, it's just a name I want to mention because he did test well, and we're talking about more combine guys. So I definitely want to mention.
Speedway.
What, real man should fight at the Speedway or 7-Eleven?
No, Paul was asking if I was from 7-Eleven, but it's from Speedway. There's no 7-Eleven here. I would go there. They got delicious snacks also.
Now, a guy that's been on my radar that's a D-tackle / edge. He's played more edge. He was 5 years at Miami, 1 at SMU, had 6.5 sacks this year at SMU. Another guy that tested well, so I did go ahead and add him to the Project Game Day draft guide that we do for charity that you can get for a $5 donation.
$5.
Still, it's been a while since anyone's got one, just say.
I got, you know what? I got one today, Dale. I got an update today because that thing is
too.
constantly updated.
And Jared Harrison Hunt was the guy that was added to it today. And
here we
he's
go.
in the update that was emailed out to people.
Everybody that got your draft guide update, here's what you got updated.
Well, you'll get more information about him in the draft guide, but he had a RAS of 9.39, ran a 4.86 and he is 6'3", 290. So he's got good size. And like I said, he's played some edge. He's played D-tackle. He moves up and down the line. Had his best season for SMU this year. So that's just a guy I like. He's added to the guide. I think a day 3 guy. He's older, like I said, 6 years in college, but a guy that can contribute, rotational D-tackle. Another guy is Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. Now, he is definitely more of a tweener because he's 276. You don't think of your defensive tackles at 276 necessarily, right? You almost think of them as an edge, but I think he's going to play. Maybe he puts on – I think a team's going to ask him to put on 10 pounds. I do. I just think that's what's going to have to happen with him. I thought he'd go back to Georgia for another year, but he knew how he was going to test, apparently. So 6'5", 276, ran a 4.86 40, and then his overall relative athletic score with the agility, explosiveness, everything combined was a 9.93. So
Jesus Christ.
Definitely somebody on the radar, too, for a day 3 D-tackle.
Also, if he needs to gain weight, I'm sure that Tim and Nicole at Midwest Best Barbecue can help him out with that.
By the way, this is off the record here. The Rams and LT, Alar Jackson just agreed 3 years, 35 million guaranteed. Eesh.
Who? Okay, go
tackle.
back. And it's not off. You got me when you said off. It's not off the record. You're talking on a live show. But continue. Now, what?
Sorry about that. No. This is beside the point you were talking about. Yeah. Rams and LT, Alar Jackson, have agreed to a 3-year, $57 million deal with $35 million guaranteed. I really don't know. That's Whitworth's replacement, the Rams left tackle.
3 years. How much money for 3 years?
3 years.
Alaric Jackson.
Oh,
I thought you were saying LT Jackson.
No, Alaric Jackson.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And you were saying LT, and I'm thinking LaDainian Tomlinson. I was so.
Well, I tell you what, Dale. Luckily, this is why I'm not a reporter for you.
Yeah, I was very confused on who. But yeah, so their left tackle, they gave him how much again?
Okay, here we go. 3 years, $57 million, $35 million guaranteed.
Okay.
57 million. 3 years, 57 million.
So not quite 20 million per on an extension for their left tackle that they expect to have as their left tackle for a good while. Okay.
Yeah.
Breaking news. And Math Bomb already has a RAS score on Darian Porter, and then I clicked a button and it went away. But I can tell you that RAS score was 9.99. So once it's finished, that could be another perfect 10 score. So the cornerback we talked about to begin the show, who ran a 4.3 flat. Maybe he even ran faster than that on the second. No, it says 4.3. 10-yard split was 1.48, which is incredible. His broad jump was 10 feet, 11 inches. Elite. His vertical,
like 10 inches.
The only thing that he's in the yellow is his weight being 195, and it's still fine. It's almost an 8.
Yeah.
And then his vertical was 36.5, and that's 7.19 for corners. That's the only two things. That everything else is all green. Had those numbers been a smidge higher, he'd be a perfect 10 relative athletic score. So
wow.
You can see here. Here's his relative athletics. Darian Porter, cornerback,
nice.
Iowa State. And like I said, the man's 6'3", 6'3", almost 200 pounds. So, yeah. Good.
And where do you got him? What round do you have him?
Well, this is the third time we've talked about it, but second round, Chop.
I just like to remind everybody. That way, in case anybody missed it. Some people just tuning in, Dale.
Yeah. Some people forget.
Not like I forgot.
No. But some people might forget.
Second round guy from Iowa. That guy.
Iowa State. Yes.
State. The Hawkeyes.
The Cyclones.
Oh, the Cyclones, not the Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
Yes. Iowa State is the Cyclones. Iowa is the Hawkeyes.
Now, what round is he supposed to go in again?
Greg, second round. Second round. That wasn't serious, though, right?
I didn't know. I couldn't tell. I started laughing because I thought he was joking, but then he had almost a serious look on his face. Like he was offended. I was laughing.
Then the way you kept going, Dale, I was like, wait a minute, is he?
I wasn't sure.
So, but anyway, second round, right?
That's where I've got it.
All right, second round. The guy from not Iowa, the Hawkeyes, Iowa, the Cyclones.
Mm-hmm. Iowa State.
Yep. All right. What about Hairston? They said he ran a 4.28.
His second one a 4.28. I know his first one was around 4.3, so 4.28 is even better.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's a little thinner, but he was injured this year. He's a Kentucky Wildcat. But the year before he had 5 interceptions. So he's got the ball skills. And Kentucky's been churning out cornerbacks, impressive cornerbacks that contribute immediately in the NFL lately. And I think he's the next one. He's one of the top guys for the second round for me.
Okay. All right.
What round again, Dale? Just kidding.
Which for who?
I don't know.
All of them, second round.
Everybody. Pick 49. Maybe we can get pick 49 A, B,
so,
and C.
Dale, so another note, we kind of got it, and I bookmarked this on your tool, so that way I can study running backs more. So the Bengals kind of let a little cat out the bag with Chase Brown. They're looking for a bigger back and all that, which is kind of what you've been mainly talking about here, like literally since January with some of these running backs. So even though to re-say it, what running back should we be looking for again? You mentioned Martinez. You mentioned there was a couple of others. Since we're looking for a big back to back up Chase Brown.
Yeah, and I put a tweet out the other day because he specifically talked about somebody blocking. Now, there's not a ton of these guys that are bigger and were great blockers. I mean, but there's decent, right? So they're 50s and up were the guys I included that had blocked at least 60 snaps for pass block snaps. Because there's not a lot of guys that have done it even. But Martinez is one of those guys from Miami, Florida. Oklahoma State before that, and then Taj Brooks. I'll almost call him Boyd a lot of times. That was a quarterback from Clemson, but Taj Brooks, the bowling ball that we've talked about too,
right,
from Texas Tech.
Yep,
he's another one, and he's a pretty good pass blocker. Ton of rushing production and excellent size. I'm trying to think who Kalel Mullings was a little below the 50 mark on pass blocking, but guy we've talked about with good size. There's a guy who doesn't have the size, but had like an 80 pass block grade and 100 plus snaps doing it. And he's caught a ton of passes. And that's the kid from Syracuse, LaQuint Allen. So I don't know if they'll be interested in him because his size is closer to Chase Brown. And they did talk about a bigger back, but this is a guy who can pass block. This is a guy who's an elite receiver. I would be fine with getting a guy like that who can do the job that you want. He doesn't have to be a certain size. And I think they would too. And we're talking day 3 for most of these guys that you would take them at running back. There's one more, but I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, to be honest. Oh, I think Ollie Gordon was in that mix too.
No, and the Bengals met with him too. Yes.
So maybe that's another one. And he was like in the 230s at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah,
they haven't weighed in. They'll weigh in probably tomorrow for see what if he weighs in lighter, if he's going to test.
Yeah.
Dale,
Keep an eye on that.
Did you send Scott Lieber a draft guide after he came in the chat and slapped you in the face with his balls?
No, fuck Scott Lieber. I didn't like my language. You can kiss my nutsack.
Scott Lieber.
I mean, that Scott Lieber episode was an all-timer.
I know.
Half of it was just me telling that guy to go fuck himself.
Fucking he's in the chat still, probably somewhere. Goddamn, Scott Lieber everywhere.
Westish, that's what they say. The bigger the back, the bigger the butt crack.
That's a fact, especially if it's an extended butt crack.
Yep.
And that's true.
Well, I think I've shot my load on day 1 combine, guys.
Well, I think that you did a fantastic job.
Absolutely.
And it was a good load that you shot.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'll mention a couple linebackers, I guess, because we didn't talk about too many of them. Teddy Buchanan, but it's spelled weird, so I'd say it weird sometimes. It's spelled like Teddye, but I think it's still Teddy, to be fair.
That's fucking, what the fuck is wrong with his parents?
It's a weird way to spell it, but hey, it's different. Stands out. 6'2", 233. RAS score 9.57.
In Yes Industries, his parents were on meth.
Played small school before he transferred to California for this one season, so it was good to see him jump up in competition. Had a fantastic season. So that's a day 3 guy. They also met with Barrett Carter, who did not test, but he's 6 foot 231, played a lot of football at Clemson, linebacker. So that just mentioned him because they met with him. Let's see who else. Demetrius Knight from South Carolina is one of my top 5 linebackers. He's 6'2", 235, had 8.55 RAS score. Francisco Mauigoa, I probably pronounced that wrong. Sorry, Samoan culture. I'm not good at pronouncing your names. 6'2", 233, 9.31 RAS score. Had like 7.5 sacks last year. Didn't replicate that this year. But he's a guy who can blitz, rush the passer, great athleticism. So he's got the sideline to sideline range. He's been a guy that no one talks about that I've had, as a day 3 guy on my linebacker board for quite a while. So it was good to see him go out there and perform. Maybe people will talk about him more. Danny Stutzman, linebacker, another top 5 linebacker I have. 6'3", 233, and he had a 9.53 RAS score. And I remember his pass rush win rate on true pass sets was over 20. I remember that from putting that in the draft guide too when I looked it up.
I like that.
So a guy that can do a little of everything there. It was good to see him test well. And one other was Kane Madrano, who I added to the draft guide, 6'3", 222. So he's a little undersized, but he can fucking scoot, and he's very athletic. 9.75 RAS score. So he tested extremely well yesterday. So he's a guy I had to do some more work on.
Hell yeah. I'm sure you're already putting it. Are you doing any work on the draft guide for next year at the same time?
I mean,
right now they're not playing, so no, but
I've got quarterbacks done.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, this is a nonstop thing. This is what you get when you get that draft guide. You get someone that's working on, like, Joe Goodberry.
I got about 20. I got player profiles for about 20 quarterbacks already, and there's some others who were in the draft guide that didn't declare for the draft that are in there at all positions. But the quarterbacks are done for like summer scouting already.
That's what I was gonna say with the dedication, man. Like Joe Goodberry put out that draft guide like last year, or the year before, something like that, and everybody couldn't wait and ordered that thing. But Joe Goodberry admittedly will tell you he does not watch college football. He gets in, he just starts diving in. Like he'll start looking at picks that are possible that the Bengals will be interested in and stuff like that, and then does film breakdown on them. With Dale, this shit doesn't stop. Already has a position group done for next, or already going for next year.
Yeah.
So
it'll all update, with the next season and all that stuff. But I mean, it's because I do summer scout. You go back and you watch all these guys, but
yeah,
there's a lot of fucking people to watch. So
if
you
I
stay ahead
send
of it,
you-
you don't have to catch up on it.
if I send you another $5, can I get next year's draft guide?
Paying early.
Well, that way when I start watching my football, and when the college and the spring games and stuff start going, I can start looking at these players already.
Well, and that's usually what I do. I'll start
Mhm.
putting it out around that time for people that, before the season even starts, I'll have quite a list there.
Not doing that. They're
No,
actually
Weston.
friends.
Definitely not shitting on the Goodberry.
No,
That's
no,
definitely
no.
not. It's just stating.
Using
and it's
him
something
for an
Joe said.
example
Yeah.
because he's someone in the Bengal community that people are he's well respected in the Bengals community.
As he should be.
Yes.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He does great work. It's definitely not.
I told
shitting.
you,
I
man,
love it.
Dale, if you and him both line up on anybody, that's my pick.
Yeah.
If the two of you cross streams in a line,
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
a lot.
speaking of, that's probably a good thing for me to do. I seen he as the testing's coming in, he's starting to finalize some or the guys at the top of their board. I seen that today, so let's see if I can find that.
Yep. But yeah, so I mean, my number one guy is Dale, and that's not bias.
Yeah, it is.
Because
okay.
here it's just because like you've been on the prove it plan. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that you said last year. I mean, we really talked about a lot of these prospects last year, and the things you said is what's happened. And so I really value what your opinion is of these players.
So how it's taking shape at the top. We have the same number one player currently. That's Abdul Carter.
Right.
Would have liked to seen him test, but
he's got a
it
fracture
is
in his foot though.
My second overall player. Shit, who is my second overall? Oh, it's Travis Hunter.
Oh yeah.
His second overall is Mason Graham. Big difference. He's at 3 on my board. I mean 3 and 2. Not a big difference there. Ashton Genty, he's got at 3. He's 4th on my board.
Yeah.
So the top lines up quite a bit. He's got Mike Green at 4.
Who's your third, Dale?
Graham.
Okay. So you
I
guys
got
flipped
Carter
2 and 3.
Yeah, he don't have Hunter in that top group, and I do. He's got Hunter at 6. Or no, 5. He's got Hunter at 5, and I got him at 2.
I got to
So,
tell you,
not
Hunter's
a
going to
big
get drafted before 5.
We literally have the same top 5 outside of Mike Green.
There you go. What's the difference on Mike Green?
I've got him a little lower, but I mean, I get it. Like, the part of the reason he's lower for me is the off-field stuff. Talent-wise, do I think he's fringe top 5, top 10? Yeah. I mean, and he's not that much lower even with that because I don't know exactly what happened. So he's still in my top 15. I can't remember. He might be in my top 10. He's around 10. He's like 10, 11, 12. He's somewhere in there. So not a huge difference. But he's
and I'm not sure. I'd have to ask Joe, but I'm not sure that he even takes any of the off-field stuff into account with his evaluation.
No,
he might
I
just
don't think
he might just be
on-field,
solid
it's
numbers.
production, it's,
Right.
And
age.
from watching his film breakdowns, it sounds like he picks so he doesn't watch college football, so he'll pick like a couple games that he knows are going to be decent games to watch, and then he'll dissect those 2 games and put good plays and bad plays in his breakups. But I'm just saying, like, this no dog and all Goodberry. Like, I really respect what he says. He's one of my most respected people. I subscribe to his channel on X. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, like, you're very modest about your skills in doing the same thing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, the top of his board is similar. One guy maybe he's higher on here is Deion Walker. I've said I just can't get over the pad level. People are saying he had a back injury this year, so maybe that's part of it because his production was down. He had 7.5 sacks the year before, and I thought he was going to be a top 10 player, the year before. So I can get because you're, putting more emphasis on the totality of what he's done and not just the one season. I get it, but he's higher on him. Princely, he's higher on than I am. But I really have liked Princely's tape too. At one point, he was my third edge player, so I get where that's coming from. TJ Sanders is a little higher on here, but I got him in the second round. Harold Fannin. He's got Harold Fannin as like a top 10 guy. So a lot of that's got to be production. I know Ryan Sparks would love that Goodberry's got him
Yeah.
around the top 10 player. But I think he's the almost second or third round guy at tight end. And it's not knocking him. He's just not your traditional tight end. He's going to be move him around and get him open and get the ball in his hands more than do a lot of things that an inline tight end would do. But yeah, a lot of these players we're pretty similar on, honestly. He's got Ezerike here with like basically a first round grade or in his top 32, it looks like. So same with me. Not everybody does. He's got Cam Scattaboo up here. I got him at like the 4th round, but I get it. He's a freak show, and he had a great season.
He's going to get reached for. I heard he can't block. Is that true?
I mean, when's he need to?
I'm just saying, like, if you're looking for
I don't know what
a
his
running back
blocking
that can
grade
block,
was.
Scattaboo's not the guy.
I don't know how often he was asked to do it this year because he's carrying the damn load, running the ball.
Well, the other thing is what I'm saying is if you're thinking about the Cincinnati Bengals, we're not taking a running back that can't fucking block. We got Chase Brown, who I feel like is a great running back. We're just looking for relief. Chase Brown's in there 1 and 2.
But it does take one injury before that next guy up is
That's true. But I'm just telling you, like, if they're drafting a guy, they're going to draft a guy that like the Samaje P. Ryan kind of mold where he can block.
They did have a terrible.
Here's my problem taking it. Like, you have the power back and and the speed back. The problem is, though, I mean, it's a good thing to have because you want to switch it up. But when you have that power back in there, like, okay, let's just power up in the middle because we know what he's going to do. You almost kind of want 2 of the same running back because you want to keep them thinking all the time. I mean, you kind of look at
2 of the same when they can do everything. Right. If you ask me,
I mean, you look at Chubb and when you had that combination of Chubb and who was
dude, just go keep it Bengals, Mixon and Shamaj.
Are you talking about Jerome Ford?
No.
Hunt, Kareem Hunt.
It was Hunt and Chubb. I mean, when you kind of switch those 2 up, I mean, that's the point I'm making. You never knew what they were going to do at one point.
Oh, you're right. When the Bengals had Mixon and P. Ryan, you knew what the play was going to be depending on who was out there a lot of times,
True. We've met with 3 running backs that we know about. Now, we've maybe met with some others, but if they are looking for a blocking running back, that hasn't really been reported too much yet because they met with Genty, as you should. If he falls to 17, maybe he's just the best player.
If he falls to 17, they should definitely consider it.
I mean,
you're right. I don't want to take him, but
they should at least run the table and give the pros and cons with Genty.
Top 5 player on my board, just like Brock Bowers was last year. And that's why I said I couldn't be mad about it because look what Brock Bowers did. A top 5 talent that you just have a grade on as a talent, not necessarily for your team, just for this draft class, falls to pick 17. You have to consider it.
Just thinking, can Chase Brown block? Maybe he's the relief if we get Genty.
Yeah, it could be that the whole entire time it was Chase Brown.
I just don't know, like, that we would use him.
East and West says the Lions going to trade up and take him.
Probably so. They love running backs. Kyle Monungai was another guy we met with from Rutgers. Good player. I think he's maybe early day 3. He could slide maybe bottom of the 3rd, but he's decent. And then Corey Kiner from Cincinnati. So he went to LSU originally.
That's right here,
transferred to Cincinnati. Yeah. That's another guy. I think he's more like very late round, 6th, 7th. Maybe he goes undrafted, but I think he could go 6th. It's just such a deep class. Some guys are going to end up being undrafted. Exactly. But, I mean, it does happen. There's been 28 to 30 drafted here or there in a random, 2 seasons over the last 20-some years. So a season like this, you never know. 28 to 30 could get drafted. It is possible.
Hey, Dale, Dusty, one time I posted something on Twitter. Dusty mentioned this running back he liked out of Tennessee. He's really high on. He had
Dylan Sampson.
Yeah, he had one good year, but it was an awesome year he had. Just tell me a little bit about him. Because Dusty.
Well, he was behind two good running backs. Like you said, he was highly productive this year.
Right.
He's young. He's only 20 years old. So I think his best football is probably still ahead of him. He got injured in the Ohio State game. I don't think it was anything super serious, but he got injured early and didn't play, and it changed their offense because they leaned on him all year long. He's a really good running back, touchdown machine, decent contact balance, everything you want in a running back. And like I said, he's 20 years old. I think he's right behind Scattaboo on my board. So I think 7th overall, but I could see a team taking him over Scattaboo easily. That wouldn't surprise me. But I think the top 5 are pretty set, and people might have different orders. But Genty, Omarion Hampton from North Carolina, who's just a tank that can do it all. Travion Henderson from Ohio State.
Oh, that guy from North Carolina?
Yeah.
That dude's a fucking beast. He's probably going to go in the first round, isn't he?
He's got a good shot to go in the late first.
I heard that some people got him over Genty. Is that
I doubt it.
Possible?
I mean, is it possible? Yes. I don't think he'll go over him, but is he very high too on a lot of people's boards? And maybe at least it should be a conversation that instead of just far and away one guy, probably he's that good.
Yeah.
Last 2 seasons, he had 1,500 yards rushing each season. he's a stud, and he's
not running back related. But Paul was just asking about Corleone, but I think he stayed. Right,
he did. He did go back to UC for one more season, so he will be back at UC and in the following draft. But yeah, after that, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, who is supposed to test. So I'm curious to see how he tests because he doesn't have like elite breakaway speed, but he's just a tank. He's a touchdown machine. He knows how to find the end zone. He's a durable guy. His blocking seemed to improve at Ohio State. Travion can block too. And then Caleb Johnson from Iowa's those are my top 5 that I think people could mix up the order for some
Cyclones, the Iowa
Cyclones. 3 through 5. Iowa Hawkeye.
Oh, the Hawkeyes.
Well,
all right.
Well, Dale, I'll tell you what. I know I brought him up to you before, but the Florida State DT, I know he's a small guy, but he's got long arms. I mean, I'm really intrigued by him in maybe the 2nd or 3rd round. He's really
Joshua Farmer. Yeah, Daniel Jeremiah likes him more than about anybody else I've seen. He keeps putting him in his top 40, like he's like 37th or something on his board. But I've got him as a 3rd round guy. He didn't test real well. I think his RAS score was like a 6 something yesterday overall. And he's like 6'3", 305. So I would have liked to seen him test better. He does have long arms. He can get after the quarterback. He's got a decent pass rush skill set. So I think he's going to be good. He's another guy that I thought was going to go back to Florida State for one more season and improve his stock a little more. But, he might have been getting feedback from his agent, from Daniel Jeremiah, saying, I got you top 30. I got 37 on my board. You should come out. So who knows? We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
We'll see if I'm smarter than Daniel Jeremiah. Probably not. So he'll probably go in the 2nd. And Taylor asked, how do you feel if Tet McMillan falls to 17? I mean, if we're bringing T back, I don't see the need for Tet McMillan personally. But is he talented enough to be picked in the top 17? 100%. He's my wide receiver 1. He's long, can make contested catches.
From Arizona?
Yeah. See, you're on this, Chop. Look at you knowing these.
Genius. What the fuck, man? Look at me go.
See, we must have a Kentucky fan in here. Alex, he says they need to draft Deion Walker, who I'm not super high on. If we took him at 49, maybe I could live with it. But, man, he's going to need some work. And you got to find where he should play. I think he works best in a 3-4 defense as that,
Well, that ain't us.
I don't think he just doesn't play like a nose tackle, and his pad level is rough. But, guys his size don't grow on trees. And I would have liked to seen him test because I wonder what the athleticism is. The on-field drills didn't look bad. They looked decent, especially for a guy that size having to bend and do the things he's having to do.
He has not had a great combine.
But I do like Maxwell Hairston a lot more. I think Hairston, the other Kentucky guy we were talking about earlier with the 4.3 flat 40, 5 interceptions the year before. It was down this year, but he missed at least 5 or 6 games, I think, with an injury. But came back and didn't perform as well, but he was coming off an injury, still trying to get back for his team, even though they weren't going to the playoffs or anything. So I always respect that. And Kentucky's turning out good corners. So I do like him.
Hey, Dale.
The freak show begins. Hold on, Greg. We talked about 43. This guy a lot. Nick.
Damn, 11 foot.
Eamon Ward. And this is the guy that's 6'3", 220, the safety that we talked about.
I was just about to bring him up. I was only saying, yeah, we haven't heard much about him. I was just about to bring him up.
That's what you were going to say. See, Ryan is a mind reader.
That's exactly who I was going to bring up because we heard about stars, but we never heard about the kid from South Carolina.
Hold on. It was Chop. I was going to give Chop his props. He got another one. He got the school. Man, you're on a roll, Chop.
I'm on fire.
I was literally going to bring that kid up right there, Ryan. You got me to the punch, man.
That is fucking tastic. And that is so on the RAS chart, those two things measure your
explosiveness, right?
Yep. Boom chop, you got another one.
Yeah, you know, that's like I watched your show with Jeff
for the podcast listeners,
Matt Lee Plack.
Nick Ibanwari, Kent Lee Platt, Math Bomb, shout out. Does the RAS stuff. He is the absolute man. 43-inch vertical. That is elite.
Wow.
Elite. That's the best one so far. That's the best.
How come he's not being thrown in the mix at 17 right now? I mean,
11-foot broad jump. That's elite. That's up there with the top.
What's the record broad jump at the
shit.
combine? I wonder. That's a long jump, man.
What is the record broad jump at the NFL combine?
I have a feeling we might find out here in a minute.
Collins set an NFL combined record by finishing with a broad jump of 11 feet 7 inches.
7 inches. That was 11 foot. So it's only 7 inches behind the record.
Justin Fargas in the 2003 NFL combine. Collins held the record until it was broken by cornerback Byron Jones in 2015, 12 feet 3 inches. It was also surpassed by Onwu in 2017, 11 feet 9 inches. This is from Wikipedia.
I mean, they all jump real good, but who the fuck are they?
How come he is not?
Yeah, and what's some of these guys' size? Like this guy is 6'3", 220. Like I said, he was going to be one of the biggest freak shows, and so it begins. Now, if he runs the 40, I'm ready to see that time. And they do that next. I hope he runs it though, because not everyone does. So I hope he runs because I want to see all the numbers for this freak show, man.
Well, Dale, how come he's not being in there in the conversation? Maybe he will be eventually, but do you think he will?
He could be. And he is, like, that's the thing. A lot of people have said he's their safety one. I know we talk about Malachi Starks more, but this kid is a lot of people's safety one. He might be Daniel Jeremiah's safety one. I think he is. Right. And that's a well-known guy, NFL Network, fucking NFL scout for the Ravens. Like, this guy knows his shit. He knows his shit. And he's his number one safety. Ben his number one safety.
Kyle Hamilton-esque?
I still got Starks above him, but it's not far off. And he just keeps inching his way closer to Starks. And it may be tough to keep him from being safety one because it's rare to have a guy like that. And he's good in coverage. And he can come downhill and knock the shit out of you. He has that athleticism and that size and that speed. Oh,
I really think we're going to get one of three safeties. It's going to be Malachi Starks, this guy, or it's going to be Xavier Watts, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I know your first pick should be a guy that you play immediately. And I know if we keep Geno Stone, you have to play him because you're paying $7 million. I will find a position for Starks or what's his name right now.
And the position can be a lot of positions because Kyle Hamilton does a little bit of everything like Ryan Sparks is mentioning here.
We will name it the whatever position.
We got some excitement here. Hey, dude, it's going to be hard to end this show right now knowing that this guy's getting ready to run.
Right. Well, we got to wait till he runs.
I think we got to keep this train rolling.
No, we can't do that.
I think we just got to keep this train rolling. On
what time is he running? I got it out.
Do you have to do something? That's what I'm asking. You guys.
Well, Sarah said she was taking a nap, which makes me think that maybe she wants to do something later, and it's my not birthday, and so I was hoping to get a blowjob. Wait a minute.
Do you need to go get that now?
Fancy time. I was hoping to get some sexy time. Maybe.
I got something at 5:15. I got to attend to.
No, I got to check on it after the show.
At what time?
5:15.
Jesus, you guys are fucking worthless.
What do you got going on at 5:15?
Family outing.
Oh,
where's the CEO, Dustin Croft, when you need him? Hop in here and keep this train going. Chop, put a link out in the chat. If we have to get off here in 10 minutes or so, we will. We'll see if anybody hops on, wants to talk, and try to keep this thing going for a little bit longer. Not super long today, though, either way.
Here's the link.
But I got to piss.
Everybody click on that link and get in here and talk.
But literally, Ryan, I was just about to bring the South Carolina safety up, and you brought him. That is awesome, man. And Chop, man, kudos to you, man. I mean, you know your stuff way more than I do right now, so I got to.
Man, I've been off, Greg, sitting in that goddamn recliner back
there. Chop, it's paying off for you, buddy.
For 5 weeks watching YouTube, so I just watch like all those goddamn YouTube videos, and they talk a lot about the different things and watch the interviews. I just got all this time, but it's probably all going to come crashing down because I'm back to work on Monday.
Well, Chop, man, you keep it up, bro. Whatever you're doing, man, keep it up, man.
Like the not working?
No,
keep up the not working.
Keep up the YouTubing.
Yeah. I don't really watch a whole lot of regular TV. I watch a lot of YouTube, man.
Well, no, Chop, man, I don't watch ESPN anymore. I used to watch ESPN to think that we relied on ESPN, all these like major. It's just asinine. I just can't even watch it anymore. I don't.
Man, Greg, I'll be like 3 hours deep into videos about making a Sprinter van into a camper, and I have no intention on doing that. So I don't know why in the fuck I'll sit there and watch. I can't stop watching like 2 or 3 hours of fucking Sprinter vans.
Right.
What's up, KP?
KP, what's up, bud?
How's life?
Can y'all hear me?
Kansas City.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I knew y'all was gonna go live today, so I said I'm off now. Let me holler at the guys, man. Did y'all see the Chiefs did what I thought they would do? They franchise tagged Trey Smith.
Yep,
I knew it.
I did not, and I didn't care to get Trey Smith a free agency. What's your take on that, KP?
Not for a guard, not for $20 million.
Absolutely not.
No.
But you know, if this was the Bengals tagging someone like, oh, they don't want to pay their players and all that, but Kansas City, oh no, it's okay if Kansas City does it.
It's the same thing. Look, it's the same thing because my family said the same thing to me when the Bengals tagged Higgins or talked about tagging Higgins again. They're like, they tagging him again. They're not gonna pay him. I said they can't afford not to tag him. If they let him leave, they're dumb.
Exactly.
And Paul Dehner came out and said today, if they tag T, it just gives them a little bit more time to get him a contract before free agency starts. Also,
well,
you know,
right.
I want to get on this subject with both of you. You know, like when Duke Tobin was out, like, you know, I was fired up when I heard Duke Tobin talk, and I hear, you know, you hear some people say, well, he's not employed with the Browns. I'm still going to stand by this. There's no way he goes and says all that without, like, at least, like, talking about this with the Browns first. I'm sorry. He's got so much loyalty to the Browns. He's been there since, like, 1999. He would not be there's no way he would just say all this and not go through with that.
No, he's not had a conversation with him. Right. It doesn't make any sense. I just look at it as they're looking at trying to get him at between 27 and 30, somewhere in that number. Yep. They'll get him at the number they want to get him at, and they'll go from there because the Burton situation got him in this situation. If Burton was who they thought he was going to be, then they could. But see, that's the problem, though, guys, is that if Burton was who they thought he was going to be, they would have let T walk and got nothing.
Boom.
Yes.
They drafted Burton for that purpose, but he was shit. And so now here we are.
And they got egg on their face.
Hey, KP, I guarantee you, they had high hopes for Yoshi. I had high hopes for Yoshi this year. I still like Yoshi.
He's good in the red zone.
Right. He's good in the red zone, but he's not. You can't replace him with T. Higgins. Even I will say that. They said to themselves, hey, we can't replace T. We got to keep T. We just can't let him walk.
And just by looking at it, though, their philosophy has to change on that. If you're not going to give a guy the contract he wants, you got to trade him for something and get it back. You can't afford to let guys walk like Reader walk and you got nothing. You watch Bates walk and you got nothing. And you knew you wasn't going to sign him, right? So all I'm saying is, like, if you see a position and you're like, okay, I don't want to take this position to the top of the market, well, by that means that you have to trade him for something. And this is the way I look at the T thing, right? You re-sign him for the 3 years. You get him under contract. In a year from now, the price that you're going to have him at is a bargain in the league because the cap went up, right?
Yeah.
So let's say T goes out, he does 10 touchdowns, or because 10 is his height. That's the best he's ever done.
Right.
So let's just say he does 10 again. I would consider possibly trading him next offseason if you get this defense figured out. The reason I would is because you already got him under contract for another couple years, and then somebody else would give you more than you would have got by trying to get him for, you see what I'm saying? Because now you already got him under contract. It's a whole different ball game.
Right? Yeah. Well, they'll have him under contract with the franchise tag too, and they can still work out a deal with another team.
Yeah, they can. They can.
And I was watching something on it, and it doesn't have to be this whole deal where they say 2 first-round picks. That's a negotiation between the teams.
Yeah, nobody's going to get
it. Can be like 2 6th-round picks. It can be 1 6th-round pick. It's a negotiation between the teams. They settle on something. Yeah,
they're not giving 2 first-round. You give 2 first-round picks for T. Higgins, man, they done fleeced you. And they better end up with a pass rusher and a defensive tackle. I'll tell you that.
I got to tell you, though, I love T, but if someone's going to give us 2 first-round picks for T, I'm really considering that.
Yeah, he got to go.
Hell yeah, because, like, I don't feel like he's a long-term plan. You know, like you said, something about signing him and then trading him in a year or two, like if that's possible. But like my thing is like after we win the Super Bowl, sure.
Because he's still under 30 at next year. He's still under 30 for 2 or 3 years. So he's still under 30. Yeah. It is what it is, man. I mean, he's not. Go ahead.
Speaking of trade scenarios, I heard this one day. Say if someone picks up the phone that says we'll offer you a second and a third for Trey Hendrickson, would you do it?
Yeah, I would. He's under contract for a year. In this draft, I would, because I got pass rushers to replace him. But that does not say that next year's draft is the same. Because if you look at this draft, you see the D-line is deep. So I mean, I do it in this draft. Yeah, I do it in this draft. Hell yeah. And
then you're probably taking one in the first, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say if this happened on draft day, if they get let's just say they drafted Walter Nolan and then their phone is ringing about Trey Henderson for a second and third, I trade him after I look at my board and I see who's on the board left, and then I'm going. Then I make the trade.
Maybe the James Pierce slide is real and he's there, and maybe you're doing it even in the first round. You're making that trade because then you're using both your seconds to move up or something
at the bottom of the first, right?
Yeah, and getting James Pierce before the Eagles or the Chiefs snag him up.
Yeah, because a guy like Pierce, he reminds me so much of Javon Curse with the length. The way he looks like Javon Curse to me. That's what he looks like.
Yeah, and he's been productive. Like even though his production was down from the year before, still.
But
had
if you look at Tennessee, though, Tennessee doesn't play their guys that much.
Yeah, they rotate a lot. But his pass rush win rate was still elite. So it's like he's still generating pressure when he's in there.
Right. So, yeah, another guy that I really like, guys, is Omar Norman Lott from Tennessee too. I like him.
Yeah, didn't play a lot. I still don't know why he hardly played against Ohio State.
Yeah, he didn't play a lot. Right, he didn't play a lot. It's pretty weird. Tennessee has some weird stuff going on down there, but yeah, he's pretty much the same size as Walter Nolan, Omar Norman Lott. They're pretty much the same size guy.
All right, we'll get a couple more thoughts from UKP, and then we'll probably just go ahead and end this one. I'll go ahead and probably watch the combine after this.
I'm just sitting here watching it too, man. But I seen Harrison run that time. I said, man, wow. I don't know if that kid, he might not make it to the second round. I don't know.
I mean, the way Kentucky, like they're whoever their secondary coach, their defensive coach, whatever, they're doing a good job with corners too. So, and I think JQ Hardaway is the guy to watch for next year. He had a good season for them. So they just churn out corners at Kentucky. So I definitely think, I mean, late first maybe, but the thing that's going to hurt him is his size a little bit. He's a little bit undersized, a little bit smaller, especially like his weight, functional strength. I don't know how good he would be in like, man-to-man coverage, especially press. But good player. I think he's definitely a second-round pick if he doesn't go in the first.
But looking at him, it kind of reminds me of the Chiefs taking Worthy in the first round. They got to have – there's going to come a point where these little guys have to be guarded by guys their size because, man, they're just too fast.
Right.
They're too fast.
Yeah, and that you need that speed to match up with guys like that. So, I mean, someone could definitely do it.
Yeah, I think so. I think they did a comparison today. I think you probably seen it when they showed Denzel Ward and him pretty much the same size. They showed him and Denzel Ward pretty much being the same size. And Denzel Ward has really good feet. And when I looked at the tape of that kid has really good feet. And, yeah, pretty soon I guess Denzel would be getting out of Cleveland too because that's a dumpster fire. So,
yeah. It's so funny. Myles Garrett's like, nah, I don't even want to talk to y'all fuckers.
Yeah.
Just get me out.
What's up, Westish?
Oh, yeah. Westish joining the show. Thank you.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, man?
Not much. I actually kind of wanted to ask you guys because, we don't really get to have a conversation over chat. But I keep seeing people say generational. And generational, I feel like, is something that is reserved for the greats. However, this draft, it appears to me that national media just keeps slinging that word out there. And I think that expectation is being put on these kids. And then if they have a bad season, their first season, people are going to look at them different and call them bust instantly. I think we're putting too much emphasis on some of these kids and not letting them get their legs under them first. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think that term is just tossed out too much in general. Like it shouldn't be something people just sling around. Let a guy get in there and play in the NFL before we even start thinking they might be a generational talent. Go show it in the league, you know. And some guys will hit the ground running, like Jamar Chase in their first season. It happens, and you're like, okay, this is a guy. But it still doesn't mean he's generational because every year there's another guy at that position that's really good too. And if you don't stay on top of your game, they're going to be right there with you.
Except this year, there's no Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, or any other LSU wide receiver worth of shit.
Yeah, it's a deep draft, but I don't see a generational guy.
No, not a wide receiver. Well, they
I
are
don't
throwing
see
that
it
out
at
like
all.
the linebacker that we were talking about from Texas A&M. They say generational for him, Shamar Stewart. They also been saying it for
probably Abdul Carter because I mean he's
Abdul
number
Carter,
one on my board. But it's
and
like
then-
no, he's very good. He's
the linebacker I was talking about is from Alabama. That's
Campbell.
Yeah,
Yeah, Campbell's different than those guys in that he can play a position where he can move around and he can pass rush. So I don't think I would really be mad if the Bengals took him at 17.
KP, I'm sold on Campbell. I would love to have Campbell at 17. I'm not going to complain, but doing it right, trenches is your first priority, but I will not complain if we get Campbell at 17.
Yeah, I wouldn't complain either. I'd complain if they drafted a running back or a tight end. I don't want to see that, bro.
I agree with that. I agree with you right there.
I mean, I try to stay positive. I can see a road to not a running back, but a tight end. I can see
the tight end. I could kind of see, but I hope. But like you said, KP, I hope that does not happen.
Man, if they drafted a tight end, they have had to already got defensive linemen that they've already talked to and got contracts ready for.
Free agency, right?
The guy that scares me the most that they may draft, like you said earlier, is Shamar Stewart and Landon Johnson from Arkansas. I do not want those guys. I don't want nothing to do with them.
No, KP, for me to be okay to give them to take a tight end, they would have to get Khalil Mack and Milt Williams signed in free agency and sign Kevin Zeitler and Dalton Reisner. Then I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
And still,
but if they did that, I guess that would signal that Higgins is not going to be there that long because you're cheapening. Because there's no way that by the time that his contract is up, that you're going to keep him and pay him the tight end money because the tight end money is a little bit cheaper than wide receivers by like half.
Right.
Yeah, a lot. It's a lot cheaper to be honest.
I could see T signing a 3-year deal though.
Yeah, that's what I think. A 3-year. I think he got a 3-year deal coming, and I think possibly after he signs the deal, I mean, like I told them before you came back, I could see them possibly trading him next offseason.
I mean, it's a possibility. Like I said, if we win a Super Bowl this year, I think a lot of it's up in the air, you know?
Yeah.
Just get us that Super Bowl. Go all in this year, get us the Super Bowl, and then whatever you want to do next year, let's figure it out.
Yeah, if I were them, I mean, I'm not in Cincinnati. I'm in Kansas City, but like I said, there's no reason for you not to go all in when you have this ability with those guys right there. Because if you're asking the people for a stadium, man, you got to put a product on the field that's going to make them want to pay the tax. You can't. There's no way you can just fix your mouth and say, yeah, help us build a stadium, but this is what I'm going to give you.
Yeah, I agree. I'll ask you both this one, and then we'll end this one. So, Westish, did you get a chance to watch the Combine yesterday?
Yeah, that's my favorite group. So
who stood out to you? You know, you can name a couple guys that stood out to you and why they impressed you yesterday.
Oh man, that's a good question. I haven't dug deep on that yet. If KP has one at the top of his head, I'd pass it over to him.
Pierce, man, Pierce ran that. Man. Pierce ran a.
Pierce was great.
Yesterday.
Pierce was great.
The dude ran a 4.4 at and his split, his 10-yard split was 1.6, I think, or 1.58.
Yeah, it was in that 1.5, so I'm pretty sure.
It was insane.
But I'm kind of thinking in the vein because I think he's going to go before we can get to him. But I'm kind of thinking in the vein of where we could fall.
I don't know. There's certainly a chance for Pierce because I continue to hear it was Lance Zierlein. I was
Character
listening.
issues, yeah.
Yeah, whatever these character things are, he mentioned that again. He thought Mike Green would be gone, and we know Mike Green has the at least the allegations of sexual assault in his past that is public now. So I mean, he was saying him, and he didn't mention anything about his character concerns, and mentioned Pierce. So I don't know what these guys are being told about Pierce, but it's definitely interesting.
It is interesting to me too. So I think Pierce was the guy that looked really good, and I think that Alexander kid from Toledo.
Oh,
he
yeah.
reminds you know who he reminds me of. He's a 3-4 defensive end. We're not getting him, guys. You can forget it. He looks like Richard Seymour to me.
Yeah.
That's who I think of. Richard Seymour.
I mean, I think he could play. He could play your 3-tech just fine, but he can move around. I think he could fit in any scheme because he's so versatile to move up and down the line, and he did that at the Senior Bowl.
Just wasn't a big fan of his footwork, honestly. But I mean, it's just like the cornerbacks. I got like a pet peeve with how they do some of the combine stuff and how on those deep balls they're always jumping, and that makes me mad because I like seeing the cornerbacks if they can track the ball and just cradle it. That lets me know that they got good hands. There's just some things that I watch with the combine. I'm like, I wish they didn't do it this way. But that Darius kid, I liked what I saw from him. I just didn't like the footwork much.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and end this one. Maybe Chop can get his birthday BJ. So.
We're hoping.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate you guys tapping in with us for a little bit.
All right, y'all have a good weekend, fellas.
All right, man.
Hell yeah, you have a good weekend too, and we'll see you on Monday.
See you, Westish.
See you, Weston.
All right, guys.
Hit the dot bot.
You want the dot bot video?
Yeah.
Or you want the actual? What do you want? It's your birthday.
Well,
so
I mean,
think,
I would like it for my birthday. The live version.
For Shaq's birthday.
that didn't take much, did it?
With the Chop Shop shirt on too. With the Chop Shop shirt. Boom. Hell yeah! I'm gonna put it in my Chop Shop commercial.
Oh shit! Got a lot of stuff on the floor.
Hell yeah!
There we go.
Best birthday ever. That was for Robert too. Oh, here he is. He's in the chat now. There he is. That bot was the
happy birthday to Robert as well.
It was. We share the same birthday, which is no birthday
for this year. But
yes.
Technically, it's today. It's the last day of February.
That's right.
Yeah, so you get a birthday.
Also, although if I'm gonna do the birthday BJ, I'll do both days. It's the 28th and the 1st.
I appreciate everybody for tuning in. We will be back on Monday. Maybe we'll have some news to talk about, some more combine stuff to talk about, but we're going to also talk about the safeties. So safeties on the roster, the free agent safeties that will be out there with free agency only a week away from this coming Monday. It's time. It's go time. I'm excited about it. And then we'll also maybe take a look at some safeties in the draft, which we've already done. Probably be a lot more talk about Nick Imanwori, Malachi Starks, Xavier Watts, and then who else is in the class. So we'll talk about all that stuff on Monday. And then next Friday, we're going to be joined by Daniel Alameda from the Right Way Sports Network, who is at the Combine and has been getting some good interviews and information and talking to a lot of prospects down there, him and Malik. So be good to get some information from him next Friday. So that's kind of the schedule for now. And like and subscribe because you never know when we're going to do a pop-up show.
You never.
Oh yeah,
know.
it can
You
be
signed T. Higgins pop-up show. Pop-up show.
Right. They signed T. Higgins in an hour from now. We're probably having another show today.
Chop's going to grab his phone mid blowjob and just start chatting. Hey, we got T. Higgins.
I'll be running. I'll tell my family I got to go to the store or something.
That's right. Yeah, it's going to be great.
All right.